Everybody says starting your first business is the most difficult thing in the world. But I have to disagree. Starting your second business is the most difficult thing in the world because now you know what awaits you. Hey friends, my name is Kalo, like J-Lo, but with a K and a slightly smaller butt. And some of you might know me from my previous startup, Encharge, marketing automation platform that we launched in 2019 and we sold last year. And I promise this channel is going to be all about startups, growth, marketing, and sales. But this video is a bit different. So there's a big M&A on Reddit about the exit, and I'm going to share that with you in the description. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about something more personal. And this is the reason I am starting this channel and I am putting live this video. And this is because I felt in a funny situation after I sold Encharge. So in theory, I am in my heydays, in my prime days, a 30-something guy with enough money. Well, definitely not a retirement or FU money, but still good enough to live comfortably for at least the next few years. A healthy guy with all the free time in the world. And actually, I was feeling like shit. So, first of all this freedom that I got after the exit actually paralyzed me a bit. The thing that I was working on for the last few years, the thing that I was putting my energy, sweat, and tears is now gone. And some of my friends are having their own human babies, and I just sold my baby. So it's a funny metaphor, but that's how I felt. It's a piece of you that you're living and, giving away. And I felt like I didn't have any purpose. As I said, the freedom paralyzed me. There was a paralysis of analysis, and I felt drained and tired from not having any motivation to do the next thing. And a lot of people think that when you sell your first business, you have the knowledge to start the second one very easily. So the touch of Midas, everything you start, everything you touch turns into gold. But in reality, most people have absolutely no clue what they're doing. And I've seen this multiple times. A friend of mine who has sold multiple 7 or 8, even 8-figure businesses was sharing the same sentiment with me. He was like, this a curse, it's a blessing and a curse. And I spent a long time just doing nothing, trying to fill in the gaps with other hobbies, other things, procrastination. I was spending way too much time in the gym, more than I should have done, just to fill this gap of not having the purpose and the willingness to move on to the next thing. And one day I was like, okay, so enough is enough. I have to do something. And that's the reason I'm putting this video live. I think putting something in public will create this accountability, will get me to be locked in. And the next time I go to a party and I see my friends and they ask me, what's up with your business? I don't want to be the guy that looks at the ground, that looks at the floor and just hides. So my goal is to start a next business, and I'm going to share everything with you. And I'm going to put everything live. And I promise there will be a lot of practical advice that I'm going to share related with, as I said, marketing, sales, growth, everything I'm doing to validate the next business idea. It's going to be a long road for sure, but hopefully an exciting one. And there will be a lot of practical tips. But this specific video, I actually wanted to take a step back and look at my life. So I started by taking a bird's eye view and figuring out what I need to do to build a foundations to start the next business. And before focusing on the actual business, I wanted to create something like a life system. So I needed to figure out how to escape these negative patterns of procrastination, filling in the gaps, not doing anything. And I put a few things together, and I put something that I call a life system. It's essentially a Google Doc with a bunch of different goals, with a bunch of like a manifesto of my testaments in life. So the person I want to be is something I read every morning right now, and I do my best to stick with it. So I'm going to share that doc with you. And if maybe you feel in the same situation, maybe if you don't like, there's no motivation and you don't know what to do next, maybe that's something you could reflect on. And maybe not the same system, right? You can very easily get that template, put it into ChatGPT, change a few things here and there, but have your own foundation of where to start. So I'm going to put on the screen this document right now. I'm going to go quickly through it, and I will also share a few things and tips of how I'm trying to deal with the current situation. So let's look into that. So this is my life system. And this first quote is from Noah Kagan, very cool guy. This is from his book, The $1 Million Weekend, I believe it was called. And it's something I highly recommend you checking. Along with Atomic Habits, you've probably read this book already. But they do contain a lot of essentials on how to start, how to put things together, and how to put things into perspective. And I honestly believe this thing strongly, because it really makes me think deeply about where I want to be in a few years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So the first step to getting all you want in the world is allowing yourself to want it and facing the fears necessary to be able to get what you want. And then after that, there's this commitment letter, which is my manifesto. So who I want to be and what are the testaments that I live by on a daily basis. And there's 10 key points, just coincidence, guys. I didn't aim to be a roundup number or anything like that. The first thing is do the right thing. And in what I believe is that probably 80 to 90% of the time, we know what is the right thing. We know we have to wake up early. We know we have to eat the right food. We know we have to start with the biggest task. So eat the frog first. But we not always do the right thing. Next thing is just take some action. This is very straightforward. Be patient with results and impatient with actions. Again, something I am trying to put into perspective. Try to be effective, efficient on a daily basis, but allow myself to fail. Allow myself to be free from outcome and free from results, so I can look at the bigger picture. And again, that's one of the things that people that start a second business, there's very few actionable things that you can translate from one business to the other. But the willingness to work, the willingness to learn new skills and to just push. So whoever stays last, whoever persists and goes through the whole thing and stays the longest is the winner usually. So patience is critical. Rely on process over motivation and willpower. And I've seen this multiple times, and something I'm trying to escape a pattern of, especially towards the end of the work week, where I feel like horrible, I feel like crap. And that's where I try to have some processes in place. And as long as I follow the process, even if I don't feel motivated or even if I don't have the willpower right now, I know if I push through it, then I will be able to make it. And this ties into the other two, which is follow the system, which is this manifesto, and stick to my daily schedule. Build positive habits and eliminate bad ones. Escape the self-destructive spiral, which is very easy to get into. you eat like an ice cream, and then you find yourself eating the whole, you eat like a scoop of ice cream first, and then you find yourself eating like the whole box of ice cream. Control emotions. I cannot escape emotions, but I can control them. There's a very popular belief in psychology is that sometimes, well, not sometimes, most of the time, if not always, you don't need to resist your emotions or fight them. You only need to wade through them. So the emotions come and go. It's like the water, and you're just like a leaf floating on the water. Whatever, you get the idea. And then the last one is something I took from this book, which is Clear Thinking by Shane Parrish. Pretty good book. A lot of common sense, but common sense is sometimes all we need. Self-accountability. Not everything is my fault, but it is my responsibility. So it's not my fault that I'm born in a poor family, for example, but it's my responsibility to change that. It's not my fault that maybe I don't have the great genetics, but it's my responsibility to go to the gym. Self-knowledge, know my strengths and weaknesses. Self-control. Every time I'm facing a decision, apply the post-plan response. And this also ties into the monkey mind. Just put yourself out, like physically, like almost like a computer game. Just try to watch yourself from the sidelines and respond subjectively and without emotion. So take some time, plan and response. Self-confidence, face reality and admit mistakes. It's an easy one. The next thing is the person who I want to be. So it's not only about starting the next startup, right? It's like this startup will get me to a certain point. And this point I want to be is the person I want to be. And in my case, I want to be someone that has the inner peace and joy, which is very hard when you're building startups. As you probably know, someone that masters my emotion and cravings with intention, has a purpose in work, which is usually easy when I'm working on the thing that I want to work, and creates deep, meaningful connections with the people I care about. So a lot of these things are very common sense, but super hard to sustain when you're in the grind on a daily basis and you're just heads down, typing on a keyboard, working on a computer. Then you find yourself a couple years later, you wake up, stand up, go outside, no friends, nothing to talk with, no one to talk with. I don't want to be in that position, certainly. And then I have my yearly goals, and I'm not going to go into much detail because this will be different for everyone, but I've broken them down into personal and more business oriented, also like physical health, finances and things like that. And then what I do on a daily basis. And for that I use an app called Todoist. A lot of you probably have heard of it. I've been using that since 2018 or 17, I believe. It has recurring tasks, so I have my morning routine, and it follows the getting things done methodology, which is very basic. If you have something in mind, just put it into a task in mind. Get it outside of your mind, because your mind is a bandwidth and it gets very easily overloaded. And this also applies to any kind of thoughts. And when my OCD kicks in, which is very strong when I'm building new startups, because there's so many ideas floating around, as I mentioned. Though the whole freedom gives you a ton of ideas. And apart from Todoist app, I'm also using another one, which is voice notes. I'm going to share a link with that, where I started to record my thoughts. It transcribes them with AI, and then very easy for me to, I can search specific thoughts and I can go back and then use them. And there's a bunch of habits here. I try to keep it super simple, nothing too crazy. And also there's a minimal viable habit, which is a thing from the Atomic Habits book. What is the smallest thing that will get me going when I'm like super tired, when my willpower is depleted and so on? The whole idea here is that progress is important. Perfection is not critical. If I miss a day, then I try to restart immediately. And there's also accountability. My friend, and I share this with him, So I just told him like, hey, brother, you have another passive source of income now. Hopefully, won't be very, very, profitable for him. But if something goes wrong, I'm to pay him 100 Bulgarian less, which is roughly like, I don't know, like 60, 70 bucks, something like that. And then there's the weekly schedule, what I'm supposed to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Today is Thursday, so I'm recording this video, which is my content creation built in public video that I'm going to share on this channel. And hopefully I'll also write an article on my blog. So that's it for now. Next videos are going to be about my startup journey, and I'm going to share everything in my second startup. Well, maybe third or fourth, but I'm excluding the smaller ones. So my second rodeo in launching a business from zero to something, I'm going to share it behind the scenes. And I got inspired by my friend Wilco, so go check him out. He's starting his, I believe, also third startup, winningads.com. So make sure to check him out. He's also doing this behind the scene thing, which I believe will create a lot of credibility, a lot of accountability, and also will help me build a bit of audience. Maybe not the ideal audience for what I'm looking to sell, but still, it's important to get things moving. Even if the audience is not perfect, the networking could be helpful. So there might be a key person that I need to talk with when I'm doing the customer development interviews that I'm currently doing. Maybe there will be some connections that will connect me with other people. So what I'm essentially trying to do is build accountability, share, find insights from the network, and also use the momentum from my previous startup. So there's a concept from Rob Walling from Drip and currently Microconf of the ladder concept. Essentially, you start with something small. So, for example, if you're building a product, if you want to build a SaaS business, you start with maybe a service like a freelance agency, something like that. Then you build an extension, which is the next step on the ladder. And then you go all the way through a fully featured and fleshed out SaaS business. So I'm trying to do something similar here with the momentum from my previous startup, using the momentum from selling Encharge to do a bit of marketing. So for example, the M&A I did on Reddit is that unfortunately I didn't have that site. I didn't have my personal website and this channel at the time. So I didn't leverage that opportunity as much, but it is what it is. That's what I'm currently trying to do. So use the momentum from the previous startup. And that's actually what I did with my previous startup before that. The was called Headreach. I sold Headreach. Then I wrote the first blog post on the Encharge website, which was how I started and sold my first startup. Use the momentum. And that's essentially what I'm doing. The third startup, so using the momentum from Encharge, and so on and so on until one day you die, hopefully happy person. So that's it for now. Next video, I'm going to talk about the ideas that I brainstormed